spend your whole life teaching your child right from wrong, how to tie their shoes, how to say thank you, how not to fall for the first shiny thing with a heartbeat, and then one day she walks in the front door with a man old enough to be your classmate from high school. That's exactly what happened to me. My name is Marlene and I'm 62 years old. I live in a quiet neighborhood in Oregon in a house that smells like lavender and bad decisions. My daughter Emily moved back in with me after college, all bright-eyed and broke, as most graduates are. She studied graphic design, which I lovingly refer to as expensive doodling, and struggled to land a stable job. I didn't mind supporting her while she found her feet. That's what moms do. What I didn't expect was to meet the man of her dreams, who looked suspiciously like he was from one of my dreams. Nightmares, more specifically. His name was Richard. 64. Tall, silver-haired, drove a sleek black Mercedes that looked more moisturized than he did. When Emily introduced him to me, I nearly dropped the casserole. I thought he was her boss. Or a professor. Or maybe a client. You know, someone she was designing a logo for. But no. She took his hand, smiled like a lovesick teen, and said, "Mom, this is Rich. My boyfriend." I almost asked if she was joking, but the way she looked at him like he was the last chocolate in the box, I knew she wasn't. Now, I'm not ageist. I really am not. Two people fall in love and happen to be from different eras, so be it. But come on, he was exactly my age. They could have had the same high school yearbook if not for that tiny detail called logic. Naturally, I objected. Politely at first. "Honey, are you sure this is what you want?" "Mom, you're being judgmental. He treats me better than guys my age ever did." "I'm not being judgmental, I'm being observational. Truth be told, it wasn't just his age that bothered me. It was the way he flaunted his wealth. On their second date, he bought her a designer purse, the kind of bag you need a second mortgage for. She came home twirling it like it was a trophy. A few days later, there was jewelry. Then weekend trips. Then a brand new phone. I began to feel like I was watching an auction, my daughter's affection going once, going twice, sold to the man with a platinum credit card. When I tried to talk to her about it, Emily got defensive. "You don't understand him, Mom. He's smart. Successful. He listens to me." Course he listens. I bet he also takes vitamins to keep his hearing sharp. But I backed off, partly because I didn't want to push her further into his arms, and partly because I was secretly watching the slow-motion train wreck unfold. I knew it couldn't last. Love built on gifts tends to unwrap itself eventually. And oh, did it. It all escalated faster than I could keep up with. One minute she was living in our modest home, the next she was whisked off to weekend getaways in Aspen and Malibu. I'd be sitting in my kitchen robe, sipping lukewarm coffee, while she'd text me from a yacht, complete with filtered selfies and hashtags like #blessed and #ageisjustunumber. "Mom, he took me shopping on Rodeo Drive," she'd say, as if that erased the fact he had a liver spot the size of Idaho on his neck. The man didn't just shower her with gifts. He drowned her. Designer shoes, an expensive watch, even a custom vanity mirror with LED lights. He once sent her home with a fur coat in May. I asked her if she'd be starring in a mafia film, and every time I questioned it, she looked at me like I was the crazy one. "You're jealous because no one's buying you presents," she said once, tossing her new earrings onto the couch like crumbs from a snack. I wasn't jealous. I was appalled. There's a difference. Worse, Richard started acting like he owned her, in that subtle rich man way. He'd show up in his luxury car, honk like a teenager, and wait in the driveway like she was on call. When I invited them for dinner to get to know him better, he declined, said he was more of a steakhouse guy. You know, because my humble lasagna wasn't dipped in truffle oil and plated by a Michelin chef. I really did. I tried to smile and nod and say things like, "As long as you're happy," while internally screaming. But the cracks were already showing. Once she came home in tears. He canceled a dinner date because he had to see his accountant. Oddly specific, right? I told her something didn't feel right. But then, boom, the next day he made it up to her with a diamond bracelet. And just like that, logic took a back seat to sparkle. Emily forgave him faster than I could say credit limit. "You don't understand, Mom," she repeated. "He's just busy." Oh, honey. He was busy, all right. Busy dating another girl. Or two. Or maybe more. The unraveling began with a lipstick. Not hers. I found it first, a coral shade I knew Emily would never wear, tucked in the side compartment of her brand new handbag. The one Richard gave her last week after allegedly returning from a business trip in Palm Springs. I didn't say anything at first. I'm not a meddler by default. But something about that lipstick, the way it shimmered under the light like it was laughing at me, stuck with me. A few days later, Emily came home unusually quiet. No flashy bag, no new perfume. Just silence and the kind of slump in her shoulders I hadn't seen since she failed her first college exam. I asked her what was wrong. She didn't answer right away. Just stood there, staring at her phone like it had personally betrayed her. Then she said it. Softly but clearly. "He's seeing someone else." I nodded like I hadn't known all along. Apparently, one of Richard's other companions, a 23-year-old named Kendra, had posted a photo on Instagram. The photo was unmistakable. Same yacht, same cocktail, same man. Except this time, his hand was on Kendra's thigh. Maybe it's an old photo, Emily tried to reason. But the date stamp said otherwise. The photo had been taken the same weekend Richard claimed to be in meetings. Turns out Richard was something of a collector. Young women, bright smiles, big eyes, preferably broke, all of them swayed by luxury and the illusion of stability. Emily was just one pearl on a string he kept hidden from each of them. The worst part? She blamed herself. "I should have seen it," she whispered. "You warned me." I didn't say I told you so. I could have. Every fiber in my body wanted to. But sometimes a mother just listens. So I wrapped my arms around her and let her sob into my shoulder, like she used to after scraped knees and childhood heartbreaks. Only this time the bruises were invisible and smelled like expensive cologne. That night she took off the bracelet and threw it in a drawer. She hasn't touched it since. After the crying came the yelling. Emily had a lot to say, mostly about how stupid she felt, how she should have known better, how she ignored the red flags because they were wrapped in gift bows. And I let her vent. Every single word. I listened with the patience only a mother of an adult child can possess. That mix of love, restraint, and the deep inner struggle of not blurting, "I told you so, you were dating a human ATM." Eventually, when she'd worn herself out, I made us tea. That's what we do in this house. You cry, you rant, you realize your boyfriend is a sugar-coated narcissist, and then you drink chamomile. We sat at the kitchen table, the one with the chipped edge and water rings from forgotten coasters, and I finally spoke. "Emily," I said gently, "there's a reason people your age don't usually date people my age. And it's not just about looks or wrinkles or Spotify playlists. It's about life stage. When you're still figuring out who you are, someone like him has already decided who you should be." She nodded slowly. She looked tired. Tired in that soul-deep way that no amount of sleep or serums can fix. "He made me feel seen," she said. "No, honey," I replied. "He made you feel owned." That landed hard. She didn't cry again. But I saw it in her eyes, the recognition, the embarrassment, the anger at herself. And honestly, I was angry too. Not at her, not really. I was angry at a world that romanticizes wealth as love, sugar daddies as soulmates, money as affection. I was angry that she'd been taught to equate a man's generosity with emotional depth. That diamonds equals devotion. That if someone paid your rent, they must care about your dreams. She started returning his gifts. Not literally. He probably wouldn't accept a refund, but emotionally. She packed up the purse, the coat, the jewelry. Put them all in a box. What should I do with them? She asked. Donate them, I said. Let some other confused soul wear a necklace that once dangled over false promises. We laughed. It was the first time she'd laughed in days. A little bitter, sure, but it was a start. The next morning, she apologized. For not listening, she said. For calling you jealous. For being blind. And I hugged her, not because I needed the apology, but because she needed the forgiveness. That's what daughters don't understand until they're older, that a mother's warnings aren't criticisms. They're love notes in disguise. The funny thing is, the breakup didn't come with fireworks. No dramatic screaming, no shattered glass, no public scene in a restaurant where someone throws a drink. Not that I wasn't secretly hoping for it. No, it ended with a quiet, dry message on Emily's phone. Just a single sentence from Richard. I think we've grown apart. Take care. No emoji. No explanation. No refund policy. And just like that, the man who used to flood her phone with poems, bad ones, and overpriced dinner invites vanished like a magician who knew the trick was getting old. Emily stared at the screen, jaw slack. I peeked over her shoulder. Well, I said. At least he didn't ghost you. That's growth. She didn't laugh, but she smirked. I'll take it. That night, she and I sat on the couch with takeout Thai food and a rom-com on mute. We didn't need the sound, we'd lived the plot. Girl meets guy. Guy turns out to be a walking midlife crisis with a trust fund. Girl loses guy. Girl gains wisdom and a low-grade craving for pad thai. I asked her carefully, "Do you miss him?" She shook her head. I miss the lifestyle more than the man. Honest. Painfully so. I get it, I said. But lifestyle should be something you build for yourself, not something you rent with emotional interest. Since when did you get so poetic? She asked. I've been holding it in. 4 months. We both laughed this time. Really laughed. A few weeks passed. The gifts stayed boxed. She started freelancing again, this time with more focus. Less Instagram scrolling, more client calls. She even paid me back for one of the utility bills. Not that I asked, but it meant something to her. Kind of reset. A symbolic one. And me? I stopped side-eyeing every man with gray hair and expensive loafers. Well, almost. The thing is, I know now that she had to learn this the hard way. No lecture from me would have changed the outcome. She had to follow the glittery trail herself and see that it led straight to a pile of cheap thrills and empty promises. But I also learned something. That no matter how much you prepare your child, they'll still sometimes trip over their own heart. And when they do, your job isn't to say, "I told you so." It's to open the door, pour the tea, and remind them. They can start over, wiser, bruised maybe, but never broken.